Hey there. Hey, I'm working on a cloud warm-up session today. Just something real quick, something for you to practice, just like we do with the Loomis drawing tutorials. It's always good to come in and just practice the skills, right? Before you commit yourself to any really nice artwork you're wanting to do, it helps to warm up. It gets your hand and eye, gets your brain shifted, and you're ready to rock and roll when you see that big scary piece of white paper looking back at you. So let's get started. All right, I'm going to get some ultramarine blue going. I'm going to get a fairly thick mixture. Look at that. That's a good thick mixture. And it's an appropriate puddle for the size of paper I'm going to be working with. I'm going to do it with a flat brush and see how that goes. And it's a fairly stiff flat brush. It's not a real soft one. It's a synthetic, one of those Dick Blick brushes that I have listed in the descriptions of this video. So I'm just going to come in. I'm just going to start finding me a cloud shape. All right. I'm working on cheap paper. It's nothing too intimidating, right? So I'm also working with wet on dry. I'm just going to try to get a basic cloud shape real quick so that I can come in and start feathering it a little bit. All right, so there's the sky, nice rich blue sky. I'm going to unload my brush. I'm going to get just a smidge of some, ooh, that's more than a smidge. There we go. All right, so I'm going to get just a hint of brown in there, kind of a grayish kind of color. It's not very dense. I'm just going to come up and touch some of these edges, soften some of the edges of that cloud, let those colors meld a little bit, transfer from one side to the other. Clouds aren't absolutely white, so that's why I went with this kind of a grayish sepia tone color, right? So I'm going to get that edge right there. This is my first one, so I practiced this morning, but it's been a while, so now I'm going to kind of come in and loosen up, just get those colors knocked down, get it away from the white. This is a fairly inexpensive paper, so it's drying quick. It's at Canson, I think. Feels like the Canson. So I can come in, I'll just loosen some of these things up, all right? And as it comes down towards the ground, I'm going to get a little bit of burnt umber there. Thin it out, very thin wash. I'm just going to throw that into the lower portions. It's picking up colors from the ground. I'm not going to worry about the ground in this one, but you can see the influences that you want to bring those colors up into the cloud. And as it's wet, I might shift over to I'm going to grab a round right now. I'm going to grab some of that blue, a little of that color right there. And I might just come in and look for some billows, right? So just add a little more color in here. It's very wet, so it's going to spread all over. All right. The best thing to do is don't overwork it if you can help it. And that's the hard part. I can't help it. So there we go. That one's a little too dry right there. You can see the marks. They're not spreading out enough, so I'm just going to feather them out a little more. They need to be a little more feathered up there. So nothing some water won't fix. All right. So there we go. All right, so we are already kind of warming up. That little one's a little too sharp right there. I want it to be softer, so I'm just loosening it up with the wet brush, and I'll just push it up there. So we got a nice looking little cloud. Let's do another one real quick. Let that one dry. It'll really look pretty cool once it's dry. All right, let's go back to my blue. Let me get my brush. This is a 3/4 inch flat again. Same color palette, ultramarine. I've got a sepia color, burnt sienna, and a burnt umber up there. So, all right, let's try this again. Get in cloud mode. So here we go. All right, what kind of a cloud? Let's make a little. We'll go the opposite direction this time. There we go. We'll pull it clear down. And if you're fast enough, you can kind of unload and feather as you go. That always helps too. Makes for a little looser looking cloud. And for me, when I'm doing watercolor clouds, it really does come down to, it just has to look spontaneous. And if you try to paint a cloud, the damn thing's not going to look right. So we'll just do some of that right there. Pull that out. Add this one, I'm using a little more blue down into the body of the cloud. But now that I've got all that wetness, I'm going to get some of that sepia color, which looks very grayish, and we can start dropping that in. You want, oh man, look at that. That's an angry cloud. I'm going to thin that one out a little bit. That could work. Let's see how it looks. So, kind of screwed that one up, didn't I? There we go. We'll see how that turns out. We'll let that dry. That might be a happy accident. I'll throw a little more blue in here. All right, cool. All right, and again, as it comes down to the bottom, I'm going to get a little more of that. It could be burnt sienna, it could be some of this yellow ochre, or raw ochre would work. I'm just going to give it some earth tones down towards the lower portion of it. I'm really just focusing on the clouds right here. All right, so there's that. That one, who knows? We'll see. Let's see what this looks like. This one's drying nice. It's looking pretty good. But again, if these don't turn out well, that's okay. It was chalk it up to experience. It's better to do it here, right now, on these small little postcard size things rather than on a bigger piece of paper. You've already warmed up. You're getting all the junk out of your head and through your hands down to the paper, so that when you're ready to commit to a nice cloud on good paper in a good piece, you're going to have that all worked out. You're going to have the yips all worked out, and you won't have to worry about it. So, all right, so practice your clouds. Do these very quickly. It doesn't take a lot of time. You can do 10, you can knock out 10 or 12 of these, within an hour, easy. So by the time you get to that 10th or 12th cloud that you're painting, you're going to really get into the zone and be able to really go after the nice one. That one's starting to dry nicely. This one actually doesn't look too bad, even with the that big patch of color. Hang on, let me soften this right here. That's just a little too sharp right there. And you can see it's still damp enough. I can come back in. It's a little sharp right here. And I just added enough water into it. It's going to create a bloom. All right. I really like, I like the sharp edge here, the soft edge here. So, all right, let's look at this. What's this look like? I think I can rescue this. I went into my closing before I was ready. There we go. I may have to edit this differently. All right, so I'm just coming in now within that shape, and I'm just lifting. This is wet on dry, so it's a subtractive process. I'm just kind of adding a little more form to the color, that denser color. Cool. Yeah, this is really starting to read. All right, so we're starting to see some clouds taking form here. All right, that one's looking pretty good. Might need a little spot right there. Okay. See if we can lift anything down here. Need a little bit of it. All right, so there's a good couple clouds to practice. Lay down your colors. If you want softer clouds, that's when you work with your wet on wet and do all the work when the whole piece of paper is wet. But I typically like to start out with the initial color of the sky, mainly because it doesn't dilute as much. It's a richer blue. And once I get the sky done, I don't want to come back and fuss with it too much. I want to just leave it alone so that there's a lower risk of me screwing it up when I come back and work on it. So, all right, so there you go. Couple of clouds, practice this. You're going to get better with it the more you practice. And if you like this tutorial, got any value out of it, give me a like and a subscribe. I'll see you in the next tutorial.